We are live. I got a great guest here today. Let me take 2 seconds here, Michael. I'm going to introduce you here formally in a second, but of course, you guys have watched me before. I got to share it to my personal page, the business page here, so we can get rocking and rolling. We got a great guest today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Super excited to be here.
Yeah, man. I know if you're out there and you're listening, you have questions for Michael, make sure you guys put it in the comments and we'll get to the questions. Make sure I tag everybody real fast.
There's a lot that goes on in getting ready for this thing.
I know. It's a process. Got to make sure tag everybody. Yeah.
Very cool. I've been on a podcast before, but not a live one that is on Facebook.
So I know, and YouTube.
That's right. As well as YouTube.
Let's see. I think we got everybody. Save. We already got 3 people watching. Let's go. All right, well, I got to start this though. And welcome to the Super Terb Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Terb, your local real estate expert with the Terb Group, Komen Banker HPW, aka Super Terb, aka Coach Terb. And I can't thank you enough for coming and joining us on our podcast today. I started this podcast, last fall, talking about real estate, business, sports, and beer in the Triangle. Really good to have entrepreneurs here, not only real estate updates, but have entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, you name it, come and tell your story, what motivates you, what drives you. And I can't have a better guest than next to me, Michael Martin with the Martin Mortgage Group with Fairway Mortgage. Not only is Michael a great friend of mine, he's also one of my preferred lenders. So I was like, what better than to have Michael come on and we talk about a whole lot of things, but mainly also talk on the market where he thinks interest rates are going, because I don't know if you saw my last video, is fortune teller Terb. We don't have crystal balls, but we do our best to at least see what's going on. So we got a lot of great questions and Michael will get into more questions, but he's been doing this since 2002. So you've seen pre-financial crisis, post-financial crisis to craziness. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, before we get started, I always have a real estate update, Michael. And my real estate update today, it's hard to believe. I just did the market update on Tuesday. We always try to do a monthly market update when we get the stats from the Triangle MLS. And it's crazy. We're more than halfway through September, going in, and for today's first day of fall. Yep. And so a lot of questions we have is this still a great time to buy, great time to sell? My answer is yes and yes. Great time to sell because we need inventory. As of right now, we still just have a little over 2 weeks of inventory here in Wake County or Raleigh, North Carolina, surrounding areas. And then on the buy side, maybe you've been in the market. Maybe you're just tired. Maybe you're tired of going up against 10, 15, 20 offers. I just sold a home last week with 3 offers. Still got max value for our clients, but only at 3 offers. I say only 3. It's funny what we get used to here in this market. But if you're still thinking about buying, I got a great guy next to you that we can start the process and get the game plan in order for you to win. That's the number one thing in this. Get a game plan, a roadmap, and get the right strategy to get you back into the market, because there's going to be literally no better time to still buy. And then the same token, if you're thinking about listing, you're like, Terb, so wait till spring. Of course you can, but in all reality, I wouldn't. Why? Because a lot of people are thinking the same thing. And in the springtime, you're going to have even more competition. So if there's anything we can do to help you accomplish your real estate goals, if you want a no obligation market analysis, if you want to just know what to do to start with the buying process, you're tired of paying at someone else's mortgage, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to help you and get you on the way. So that's my real estate update today. I'm going to take a quick break. On the other side, I got Michael Martin. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Excited.
And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Terb, again, your local real estate expert here in the Raleigh, Durham, or Triangle area, as we like to say, aka Super Terb, aka Coach Terb. And I have my guest here, Michael Martin with Fairway Mortgage. Say hello, sir.
Hello, everybody. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I kind of already introduced you, but before we get started, tell everybody again your name, where you're from, what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Michael Martin, and I have an incredible team with me at Martin Mortgage Group.
It's Derek giving you a shout out already.
And so I've been a mortgage lender since 2002, but not only have I been doing this for almost 20 years, but my mom was a real estate agent for 30 some years. My dad was a builder, architect, developer. So really been around it almost my whole life.
That's awesome. And so again, you've already touched on it, been a lender since 2002. You've been in the business. And how long before, what did you do before becoming a lender? I know you've touched on that, but what made you get into the business?
So interestingly enough, I throughout high school and college, I worked in restaurants, usually in the back of the house as a cook or manager, and ended up getting into food sales. So I worked for a company called PYA Monarch, which is now U.S. Foods. Many of you guys have seen them on the trucks on the roads, and did that for 4.5 years. Really have a great passion for the restaurant business. I like to eat, so I like to cook, and frankly, never thought I'd end up in this side of the business. One of my closest friends, still one of my best friends, Pat Polson, was with a bank, small bank at the time, CCB. Some of you guys that are local will know Central Carolina Bank. And I had some life changes going on and did not live in Raleigh. Moved here in 2002 to get in the mortgage business. Literally January 2nd, 2002. I think we had a snowstorm the day before. I think it was tough getting to work that first day. But
that's crazy. It was almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So you've seen it all, and we're going to get to that here in a second. So leads to my next question here. Actually, I have one question I'm putting in the back, though, because that's going to be really good to hear.
All right.
When you were first getting into the business, what would you say the hardest thing or adversity you faced getting into the business? So,
of course, you don't know what you don't know, right, when you first start. I was blessed to have somebody, my buddy, Pat, really kind of show me the ropes. At the time, rates were in the sevens, which seems hilarious to think about, right? Rates in the sevens, right? We all hear about our parents that had rates in the teens, in the 80s, but rates were in the sevens and dropping. So fortunately, I was able to cut my teeth really on refinances, helping people that were bank clients that wanted to save money in interest rates. So that was kind of how I got my start. It was really just helping folks manage that. And then as you're in the business longer, you start to help people buy houses too.
Yep. So you've seen a lot of changes. Tell everyone listening or watching about the financing world, I'd say pre-financial crisis, and then also what it was like during when everyone was just trying to hold on to their homes.
Sure.
And what you're seeing now.
Great. Interesting. So when I first started is when the Alt-A and Subprime world started kind of creeping into
So let's backtrack. Tell everyone that may not, know what even Subprime meant.
Yeah. So Subprime, many folks do know what that is because they know that's what started the financial crisis. But Subprime were folks that really couldn't qualify for traditional mortgage and therefore had to find some sort of alternative type of lending out there. Usually they were given a program that was called, it was a 2-year ARM. So they'd have a teaser rate or a low rate or a low-ish rate for the first 2 years, and then rates would start adjusting. And the goal always was, I've never personally done a subprime loan. We didn't really offer those back then. But the goal for those folks that got into that was that they would get this rate that would be reasonable and manageable, and then they'd fix their credit or fix their situation and then refinance into a conventional or a paper loan. The reality is many of them never really changed their habits, and then all of a sudden these rates started getting moving upward and then they couldn't make their payments, right? Also during that period of time, loans that we were doing that were really becoming available because there was so much supply. There was this kind of infinite almost supply of money, and Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac were trying to create opportunities for lending. And so we created they created something called Alt-A, which means you didn't necessarily have to provide a proof of your income. You could state your income. Or in some cases, if you couldn't state an income that made sense, then we would go no doc. And no doc meaning you didn't even have to tell us what your income was. It wouldn't even be on an application. We'd really be reliant on either a down payment or a credit to help us qualify someone. So you had this trickle down effect. If you couldn't qualify for this program, then you would qualify for this one. If you couldn't, at the end of the day, back then, if you could fog a mirror, right,
you got a house. And it's amazing because obviously then we were in the financial crisis, which to me was 08 to really 15. I mean, there was that window where, but as things were going on, the supply got less and less because in the height of the recession, we had about a 19-month supply of homes, over 20,000 active listings. You look at today, we have 0.6 months inventory as of our last report there from Triangle MLS. And
it's about 45 homes on the market now.
There seems like it. Yeah. I mean, there's really nothing out there. And so again, it's kind of going back to my previous segment where still no better time to sell. And of course there's advantages of buying because the rates obviously being so low. And it seemed like during the financial crisis, things tightened up quite a bit. And I started in August of 06. And I experienced about 6 months of the Wild Wild West, as I called it. I bet you my first 12, 10 were 100% financing, or they're doing 80-20s, avoiding PMI. And people were relying on the equity of their homes to build, or the appreciation of their homes to build their equity. And that's where I'll let you touch on this as well. That's when people talk to us now. Everyone's kind of waiting for this foot to drop, or, it's this crash or this bubble. And I always tell people you need inventory first to have a bubble. And two, the people that are buying today are buying with equity. I mean, they're putting that to win in this market. You have to put a significant money down, where we still think things are going to continue to grow. But let's say if they had to call me next year and say, hey, Terb, we had something happen in our life, we've got to move. They're not going to be in the sort of trouble that we saw, a dozen years ago. And do you want to comment on that?
Yeah. The reality, like you said, so many people were doing 100% financing back then. Like you said, 80% first, like 20% second. Heck, I did that in 2007 myself.
We did it too.
There seemed like no reason not to do it. Where, and again, we had all these different types of loans that were just so much more risky. And in today's environment, today's world, folks are extremely qualified, right? They've got large down payments in most cases. In fact, as you know, it's really tough for first-time homebuyers. I had a couple of meetings earlier today where I'm having conversations with first-time homebuyers, and you really need somebody that's going to help explain how to get there, build a game plan, as you mentioned earlier, so that you can prepare. Because if you don't, you're going to be left out in the cold. And do you want to continue to rent where rents are going up 5, 10, 15%?
Yeah, they're going up.
And the home prices. Again, go back to your bubble question. I cannot imagine a world where we have a bubble in our market for a minimum of 3 to 5 years. In fact, I don't think we have a bubble period until, like you said, we have some sort of massive. Builders will have to overbuild, and they don't have the capacity, manpower, supplies, none of that land right now, at least developed land, to be able to do that for quite some time. So I think there's whether you need to sell or need to buy right now, it really depends on your specific situation. There's no reason to sell if you don't want to leave your house, right? If you want to stay there, you want to be there for a long time. I'm talking to a lot of our buyers, and I know you are too, Michael, or excuse me, potential sellers, and saying, are you in a home that you envision being in for the next 3 to 5 years? And if you're not, then now is a better time to sell than down the road. And it's not necessarily for the sale, it's really for the buy, right? Because the house that you're going to buy, and take this great equity that you've got. In some cases, we were talking earlier about someone who got $75,000, $100,000 of the equity in the last year. I have a client that we did a loan, helped buy a house last year in April. He just got under contract to sell his house. I think it was like $450 that he purchased, and he just sold it for $580 in, I think, 16 months in Cary. And while he's going to have to pay some capital gains on that because he didn't wait 2 years. But he's also going to be able to take a bunch of equity. In fact, in this case, he's going to pay out some debt, knock out some debt, and then be able to buy a house that he's going to be in for the long term. Yeah,
and just have a listing go live tomorrow. They paid $262 for just over 3 years ago. We're listing for $374.9, hoping to even do better than that. And they're going to rent short term, and they're actually then going to be hopefully building. So it's the same thing. It's everybody wants to wait for that perfect time, but right now it's a matter of capitalizing on what's in front of you. So it leads me to this question. So if you're a buyer, looking to get into this market, maybe you're renting, or maybe you just haven't purchased in a while. Maybe you've been, or you may have had some financial hardships. Who knows, right? What would you say is the most important thing they do when researching a lender? Because you get a lot of commercials, you see a lot of things on TV, all this zero closing costs, things like that, where if you're not really understanding what you're listening to, what would you be your best piece of advice?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't listen to the radio a whole lot, but for some reason, my car right now, when I turn it on, it usually goes on to Bluetooth, and for whatever reason, it's kicking on the radio. So I constantly am hearing these commercials on the radio where they're advertising no closing costs, right? And then I have clients saying it, and on billboards all over town saying no closing costs. Well, there's nobody that's going to have an attorney that's going to work for free, or an appraiser for free, all that stuff. All that stuff has to be built into the deal in some way or the other. So what I would tell anybody that's thinking about buying a home, whether they're a first-time home buyer or even a move-up buyer, is make certain that you get with a lender that really takes some time to give you a full consultation. For us, we gather a bunch of information up front, do a lot of homework, put some things together, and then we'll do usually a 45-minute to an hour Zoom call with every single one of our clients to help them prepare. Where at the end of that consultation, I'll ask them if they've spoken with any other lenders. In almost every single case, they're saying, that guy gathered some information, told me I was fine, and then said, let me know when you get under contract. And really didn't help them prepare, especially for the competition, right?
Yes.
For real estate agents out there like yourself, having a lender that's going to help really give that buyer the preparedness, right, to know what it's going to look like to compete with 10, 15 offers. Maybe in the fall, it's maybe 5 to 10, like you said earlier, instead of 20 or 30. But at the same time, what happens if the appraisal comes in low, right? Preparing for an appraisal shortage, because if they don't have the ability for that, they shouldn't really be in the market, right? And they got to understand how that looks.
Well, I think the biggest thing too, and if you're listening on the podcast or watching in a different state, our state, we have what we call due diligence money. And when we tell people around it, like when we go to different conferences or just tell other agents what we do, they think we're nuts. Yeah. Because the way our contract works is not only do you put earnest money down, you put due diligence money down. And what is due diligence money? That's the money you're giving to the seller at the time of contract, kind of in good faith, to basically rent or buy the time to decide if you want to buy it. But now, because we have multiple offers and a lot of people coming in from out of state with a lot of money, it seems like now with due diligence, it's anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000. So why I love working with your team so much is I know, one, we're preparing our clients as well. You're doing the same, but when we go into battle, because that's what it is, you got to make sure they close. Unforeseen something crazy happening, like losing a job or something like that, but there's going to be no surprises, because that due diligence money, once you close, it's credited back to the buyer. But if for any reason they have to terminate or they don't get to the finish line, you just paid the seller a lot of money. So that's key. So this leads me to another question, and I want you to elaborate more, is just talk about your team, who you have on your team, and what makes you go. And then I'll kind of then go a little bit back from there to have you talk about how you started building the team. Yeah. Because I think you have some lenders that are going to be listening to this as agents like myself. And I think one thing you do so well is just you have everything in order, you delegate, but you have the people on your team, you've created ownership with them. And so they almost treat it like their own. And I think that's one of the things that separates you. Of course, I'm talking more for you, but tell more people about that, how you built the team. So first introduce everybody, if you could, what
it'd be tough to do that.
Without seeing
the time that we've gotten in Cheddar. But the reality is, my team captain is Nicole Blakeman. She's been with me for 6.5 years, a little more than that. She's the one that really runs the show for me when I'm not there. And we've got just some amazing folks beyond that. Really what the team does is manage when lead flow comes in, right? And maybe back up to why I started.
Because I think everyone, that's the first thing that, whether in real estate lending or really, okay, I need to do it, but a lot of people are afraid.
Yeah. So the main reason we started a team is that you want to create an experience for your clients that is creating a raving fan service, right? And the only way to do that is to give them a lot of attention. And while I love my role and I love my job, I also really love my family, and I want to be able to spend time with them too, right? And they very much appreciate that. So in order to be able to give our clients a high level of service and a high level of time, we have to have more people. And so that's why I started creating a team to begin with, is because we certainly wanted to grow our business, but I can't do it all myself. So for us, and we're actually looking to hire, by the way, I want to make sure you know that too. We're looking to bring on at least 2 more folks by the end of the team to help support the team. And we're looking to bring on loan officers that want to learn the tools that we've learned through the coaching that I'm a part of, and now you are as well, to be able to learn what we do and grow their own business. So, and have my whole team to be able to help support them do that. But when a lead comes in, it either comes to me or one of the we call LP1s or loan partner ones, and those folks manage the lead, help gather some information, and then they set up the Zoom call with me or Nicole, our team captain. And again, we're taking a lot of time to really explain the process. We're gathering all the documentation. We're doing a full pre-approval versus a pre-qualification, and that is so crucial in this market, especially realtors out there that are allowing their clients to utilize a pre-approval letter from a lender they don't know or trust, getting the client under contract, and then hoping that sin closes, right? After they've got $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. We had one that closed 2 weeks ago with $175,000 due diligence. If for whatever reason, clients don't know that they're supposed to tell us every one of these details. And so it's really up to the loan officer to be able to make sure we're asking and then verifying all that stuff ahead of time.
Yeah, that's something that when I know what our client's going to work with you or initially introduce you, I already prepare them for that. And they're going to ask mine more questions than another lender, but they're wanting to make sure there's no surprises and make sure everything is ready to go when we go down that runway. Because when we go down that runway, we're going to take off.
Yeah.
So that's important. So what would you say separates you from another lender or team?
So I would tell you that's probably one of the main things is the thoroughness that we do up front, right? The gathering all the documentations, doing a full review, explaining. So when I'm meeting with a client, or Nicole's meeting with one of our clients, one of the things I tell them right up front, first of all, I want to make sure we answer any questions that you have, whether you're a first-time home buyer or this is the 5th time. If you haven't bought in this market, it is your first time, right? So we want to make sure that we fully understand and explain that to them. Then we go through the application, just a second set of eyes from the loan partner to make sure that there's nothing wrong there. That really sometimes catches some things that we wouldn't have. I have humans that work for me, right? As am I. So they help me and I help them. So the second thing, and then we look at numbers. What's your purchase price range? What's your payment range? And then how much cash are we going to need to make this thing happen from a perspective of down payment, closing costs, and then inspections. All of those things we want to prepare for. And then we talk about what happens if it doesn't appraise. You go into contract for $500,000 and it appraises at $450,000. Now that is a real thing that happens right now.
Yep.
Right? So in fact, 40% of our clients right now, they're not appraising for the contract price. Now I'm not telling you to scare you. And it's not always $50,000, right? It could be $5,000 difference, but you need to be prepared for that because the market's moving so quick that they really have to understand what that risk is. Again, because you're going to have a large due diligence check at risk, and you don't want to find out and be surprised later, because that would kill me, right? If I got a client under contract and then we couldn't perform for some reason that was in our control.
Mm-hmm. What we don't like surprises, or if we try to be planned for them. So these are the same conversations. As agents, real estate agents, we look at comps, right? But as I tell my client, you're the new comp.
Well, you're not appraising the house.
No, and right? We're not. And I can only see what's closed in the last 60 to 90 days. But again, you're the new comp. And just because the home doesn't appraise doesn't mean it's not worth every penny. It's just the appraisers doing all they can to
Michael, what I tell clients, and this is a question I get asked a lot, am I going to overpay if I buy a house right now? And I think I disagree a little bit. I think, you may overpay for today, right? But next month, your home becomes the comparables for the ones that are going on the market right behind it. So, within the next 6 months to a year, all the equity you may think you may be behind on to begin with is going to be, way more than you thought after, in a couple of years.
And also comparing it, okay, let's say wait, I'm going to ask you this.
That same house we were just talking about, right?
Not only numbers, but what if the rate goes from 3 to 3.5?
Yeah.
Then having this whole other conversation, especially with monthly payments or what have you. What motivates you on a daily basis?
A couple different things. I'd say my partners, like working with people like you, agents like you, really motivate me to be able to help you with your business. You help me with my business. That is super motivating to me. Focusing on my team and their personal wants and goals is extremely important. My team is really an extension of my family. Next week, for example, or not next week, tomorrow, my team is coming over to my house. I'm cooking them dinner, right? Just like I would as a family member. And they're all bringing their kids, and we're going to have a great time. We do that fairly often. We hit a big goal back in July. I'm taking my team to New York City in October. Awesome. I just can't. I'm so excited. So those things motivate me. And obviously, right, my family, my wife, my daughter, they're everything to me. Sometimes, we work so hard to provide for them that sometimes it doesn't feel like that for them because we're working so darn hard.
Right.
But those are the things that
take the time. Cool. And you mentioned goals. So what are your goals for your team?
So there's some individual goals.
Have you already sat down for 2022?
No. Well, I have a good idea, right? So our goal this year, originally we had a goal and a stretch goal. So our goal this year, last year we did $65 million in loans, which our goal was 52. So we ended up doing 65. Of course, we didn't expect last year to happen, right? With rates dropping like they were. So we got a little bit lucky there, but we also did 88% of our business last year was purchase business. Only 12% was refinance, where the market was actually 75% refi and 25%.
Right.
So we really focus on our realtor partners and to make certain we could service them. And frankly, a lot of other lenders we're focused so much on this, the low-hanging fruit and refis, and that's why you guys, realtors, saw levels and service drop with your lenders. This year, again, 80 was our goal. We're going to hit that, we know. So we've kind of our stretch goal is 100 million. Next year, I'd love to see us do 120.
That's awesome. So where do you see yourself 5 years now professionally?
That is a interesting question that I have put some thought in, but I haven't got it dialed in like I really want to. Really, by 5 years, we'd love to be a $200 million team, but also continue to grow our actual support staff and help them and focus on their goals. And then, again, I mentioned earlier, we're looking to hire loan officers, maybe not even experienced loan officers, but folks that want to learn this business, just like your business. Both of our businesses are, I don't know what the average real estate agent is, but the average lender or loan officer is something like 58 or something like that. So 56, 58. Fortunately, I'm not quite that old yet. But I hope to be in the business still when I am that age, right? But I want to be able to help young people learn a business that can really provide a great opportunity for them and their family. So we're looking to continue to grow loan officers. We've got one on my team right now that's looking to grow that way, or he is growing that way, and we're looking to add some more.
That's great. And what do you love about what you do?
Everybody says the cheesy, I love to help people. But at the end of the day, fortunately, me helping a lot of people also helps my team. It also helps my family, helps my partners. And all those things kind of compile right together.
What's interesting, because that's what we do. And it's interesting about what one transaction creates for so many people.
Yeah, so many jobs.
It's amazing. But yeah, I mean, that's where we're here to help, service and create dream. I mean, help people on a daily basis, which is always awesome.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Again, no crystal ball, but what do you see the rates doing in the next 12 to 15 months?
Yeah, I'll give you my best guess there, but I have to point out real quickly to you and your crystal ball with your video, right?
I'll go get my hat.
Well, it was interesting. If you guys listen to, or those that you listen to the podcast, I think two sessions ago, 33
First
or
of all,
32.
Zach gave you a little shout out.
Hey, Jen, good to see you. But what I was going to say is you predicted, there was something you specifically, you said, I've got a listing. We're going to list for, buyer bought a house for 300. We're going to list for 375. And I predict it's going to sell for north of 400. And sure enough, it did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's happened since two podcasts ago. So I think it's pretty cool. As far as what I think is going to happen with rates, here's what I know for sure. They're either going to go up, or they're going to go down, or they're going to stay the same.
Yep.
But they're unlikely to stay the same. What I think will happen, right? We have this inflationary pressure. Sean talked about this last week in the last podcast. We have inflationary pressure because of the supply chain issues that are happening. And overall, if we have inflation issues, you will see rates rise. It has to happen. It is an absolute rule when you have inflation, because mortgages at the end of the day are really bonds that are being traded on Wall Street. So you're going to get a fixed rate of return for people. And every one of us that has a 401k or an IRA has mortgage bonds in there. And if you are buying a bond, whether you're doing it intentionally or through some sort of mutual fund, the bond, if rates go up, if there's inflation that goes up, right, then you have to have an interest rate that's going to go up with it. Otherwise, the value of your money is actually dropping, right? So if you're getting a rate of 3% and inflation's at 1%, well, you're netting a 2% gain. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then, of course, if inflation goes to 3%, well, now you're getting 0. If it goes to 3.5% and you have a 3% return, well, you're literally losing money by owning that. Well, people get rid of it you have to get a higher interest rate for that case. So I think we do have some inflationary concerns. Overall, I think rates are going to stay pretty low. The government has made it very clear that they want to keep rates low. I think they've actually created an environment that's going to be really hard for rates to ever get in the 5 to 6 to 7% range. So while I do think rates are low, we don't know. Right? Yeah. And I still think, because we know they are low now, it's still time to buy or refinance. And that's a huge opportunity, by the way. So many of your listeners, past clients and so forth, have so much equity and they have no intention to move, but maybe they've carried some debt that we can go ahead and take out with that, knock it out so they can get their cash flow back. Or maybe they want a big project they want to do in their house. We can get some cash out of that and help them take care of that with one payment. They don't have to worry about an equity line or something like that that's going to cause an issue.
That always helps. Yep. I just did a HELOC myself.
Yeah, you did. You got a little project.
Yeah, we do. We're excited. And we maximized the equity in just a year we've been in there.
That's right. You have to refinance you afterward.
So 2 questions, and we're going to get to some fun stuff. This has already been fun, but rapid questions, as I say. New lenders coming up, so you want to hire one. what would you say? What would be the best advice to give them going into year one?
Yeah. So first thing is, if you become a new lender, you want to learn as much as you can, but don't be so afraid that you have to learn everything. Surround yourself by good people that can help you. I will tell you that was a huge key in my beginning of my career. I had a couple guys in my office. Fortunately, again, I mentioned to you it was a refinance boom. So if we made a mistake, or I should say if I made a mistake, or maybe even when I made mistakes, I wasn't changing people's lives. They weren't missing a moving truck. I wasn't upsetting a real estate agent. So it was a good place for me to learn on refinances. But where I'd go with that is you want to learn the guidelines as much as possible, right? But getting your license, just like a real estate license, it doesn't teach you how to run your business. It teaches you how to pass a test. Right?
Yes. Right.
So surround yourself by really good people. Don't be afraid to call on agents. Agents are a big part of our business. Create a database. That is something just in your business as well as mine. Database is your life.
Took me 15 years.
Yes. Yeah. Create a database. And then stay in touch with your database, right? That is the best way. And a database doesn't have to be necessarily people you've done business with. It's your sphere of influence, people that know you, people that you like, and those are really some of the keys I would tell people.
And you may repeat this. So if you could go back in time to early career, what would be the one thing you would tell yourself to do differently?
Well, that would certainly, I'm going to repeat myself there because I did have kind of a database. I left after 4.5 years in the business. I left an origination job to go manage. So I didn't think I needed my database. So, gosh, I remember then what happened after that. The crash happened, right? So then I had to get back into origination, and I had an Excel spreadsheet that had all my past clients, but all I had was a name and address. I didn't have their phone or anything. My wife worked with me at the time, and we knew this refinance boom in 2008 was coming. And literally, she went through the Wake County website, and I think we just had names actually. So she went there and got all their addresses, and we started mailing to this database, that we could do refinances. And sure enough, they started to come back to me. But it could have been so much easier to do at the beginning and just keep it.
Yeah, and keep and maintaining it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people started and then they let you get busy or whatever. So, well, these are great. All right, so I got some rapid questions I like to always ask my guests.
All right, cool.
Maybe you've already heard some on my previous podcast, but it's still always fun. Favorite place you've traveled?
Favorite place I've traveled. Okay, I'm blessed to travel a whole lot. I'm going to say England, only because I'm getting ready to go take my family there next summer. My wife and daughter, neither one have ever been there. I'm really excited. I lived there for 3 months when I was in college, and it was a blast. I went over there to study abroad. All I did was really study beer.
Cool. All right, place you haven't been but want to go.
Haven't been but want to go.
Now, it doesn't count next summer.
Yeah, I've been there, so that's it. But place I haven't been, I want to go. There are a million places. One of the things I would probably say is the coast of Italy. That
would be awesome. Favorite movie? I know there's different genres, but you can always name a couple. I know it's always tough.
I have to say
Pulp Fiction, because it's one of those movies where you see it on TV, no matter where it is, you'll start watching it.
Yeah, Friday is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
I love it.
How did you get fired on your day off?
That's right. Sean even mentioned Forrest Gump. I love. Yeah, Forrest Gump to me is I can't stop watching that movie. In fact, anything Tom Hanks has done is awesome.
Yeah. So, favorite food. All
right. So this is one that I love to make. It takes my wife and I've gotten in many a fight because how long it takes for me to cook dinner. We dinner at midnight when I make this is short ribs. So braised short ribs.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I use Daniel Boulad's recipe from Daniel, which is a restaurant in New York.
Nice. Favorite restaurant?
My favorite.
You can always go local.
No, I'm going to go
national.
local for sure. Right. I will do local nationally. So my favorite restaurant I've been going to for 19 out of the 20 years I've been living in the Triangle is Cafe Tiramisu.
Yeah.
I love that place. It still has the same staff for the most part that's been for literally the entire time I've been there. The menu is almost identical. They've made a couple changes, but you know what you're going to get every time. I take people there, they love it, and then they start going there. So that's one of my favorites.
Making me hungry.
Yeah.
That's good.
I will have to say my other favorite
is
Hall's Chop House in Charleston, South Carolina. My wife and I go there every year, and it is amazing.
Hall's Chop House?
Hall's Chop House.
I haven't been there.
There is a book waiting to be written on the service level that restaurant provides. I've never experienced anything like it. Every time, except for the last time we went, which was a couple months ago, Every other time I've ever been there, Billy Hall, the owner of the place, is there literally to open the door for you when you come in. He comes by the table, he brings you a champagne, and then he opens the door when you're leaving. I don't know how he does it. It's pretty amazing.
I just wrote it down.
Yeah,
we can check that out. I already know this one, but favorite sports team. And I got it, and that's with a twist.
It is, because you're trying to convert me. I don't even know that I have a favorite sports team anymore, because I'm an ECU Pirate. I love the Pirates. I grew up in Northern Virginia, so I was a Washington Redskins fan. Now a Washington football team fan.
It's hard for me to say that.
But it's painful.
Well, because you're going to come to the game with me, and so we're going to put a little bet on that when we play the Panthers. So
we could do that.
We'll do that.
I just need to make sure I'm paying attention to the line.
Exactly. Any two people you could have dinner with, whether they're dead or alive.
Ooh, goodness gracious. Dead or alive? Any two people. I don't know. Man, that's a really tough question.
It is. That's why
I'm trying to think of something, so I'm not taking forever.
That's all right. We got all the time. We're good.
A couple of those people that I actually have had dinner with, that I would say, I was going to say Rick Ruby, but I've been blessed to have dinner with him a few times. One of our coaches. I'll say my current coach right now, I think would be great. Brian Shudo. I'll probably get a chance to have dinner with him in a few months when we're in
Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona. But I'll just go with that for now.
Okay, another person.
There's, I guess, probably a list of a ton of other people. But Andy Andrews, he's probably one of my favorite writers. I don't know if you've read any of his books or not, but he's a really interesting person.
I love it. And then lastly, I ask everybody on the Super Terb podcast this question. I always say eventually, whenever the podcast gets retired, who knows when that will be, I'll even put a book together and go back and listen to everybody's answers. But the best advice you've ever been given, and by who?
All right, so I'm going to give you two answers here. First is by my dad. And my dad, he maybe not said it in this way, but it's what I've received from it. And I try really hard with my family to help encourage this, and I try with my team. And it's, if you control your attitude, you can control your success. Because the reality is, so many things happen to us. It's how we react to them that makes all the difference in the world. And the other part that I'd say, and I don't necessarily know who I learned it from, but it's just really focusing and living a life of gratitude. My team, I actually brought you a little gift here. It's in your office, but my team every single Tuesday, interesting enough, yesterday was of course Tuesday, and it was National Gratitude Day.
No, I didn't know that.
I happened to hear on the radio, which is funny. And we do this thing every single Tuesday on our team meeting called Grat Tuesday. And it's really where we focus on, everybody's kind of focuses on something that they're very grateful for. It's really hard to get upset when you're focused on gratitude. And every one of us has something to be super grateful for.
I love it. I've said this a few times, and mine is finish. Once you start something, you finish. I got that from my high school coach.
That's what my dad told me too.
And I tell my son, my daughter, if you start, whether that's a team or a project, and even shooting a layup and you miss, you finish. That's from my old coaching background on the hardwood. Because there's times where I was unhappy, or it's easy to quit. Yeah, and that's what
I quit a lot as a kid.
Yeah, and that's a difference, is just finish out the process. And there's also, and that comes into our business, because there's certain transactions you're like, oh my gosh, this one's tough, and it's just doing it the right way and finishing. So that's cool. So I appreciate you coming on, man. This has been a lot of fun. Before we get off, let everybody know, of course, when we finish, I'll tag you, tag the team. But if you want to let everybody know how to reach you, if they want to start, their financing goals.
Yeah. So if you have any questions regarding anything regarding mortgage, financing, buying a house, my website's probably the easiest way to find me. All my contact information is there. It's yournclender.com. That's yournclender.com. My cell phone's 919-612-9978. But yeah, happy to help answer any questions. Whether you work with us or not, we're happy to help you.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to take a quick break. You can just finish up the show with me. I'm going to talk about our local beer of the week. Excellent. All right. So we'll be right back with our local beer of the week. And welcome back to the Super Terb Podcast. And I'm your host, Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the Added Turbo Group, Komen Banker HPW in the Raleigh, Durham, what we like to call Triangle area, a.k.a. Super Terb, a.k.a. Coach Terb. And I always like to talk, Michael, local beer of the week, just because we have so many breweries. Of course, I'm trying to limit the beer. I'm actually going to go work out after this. Well, tomorrow's game day. Yeah. So the grill's probably going to be on about 2 o'clock. So things are going to happen.
Thursday night game, huh?
Yeah, we're playing the Texans on the road.
Wow.
So my wife's already prepared. She understands what's happening tomorrow. But I wanted to actually give a shout out to a good friend of mine, Anthony Scalese. He's the owner of Wakefield Tavern. And Wakefield Tavern is in North Raleigh, right off Falls of the Neuse, essentially almost in Wake Forest. But they have one of the best restaurants I've been to. Talk about service, raving fans for sure here. Well, they're putting on an event that I'm actually going to be able to go to. It's the 3rd annual breast cancer benefit dinner, and it's for the Susan G. Komen Foundation. They're actually, it's $150 a head, but that's with that you get a four-course meal. That's going to be amazing, and they're capping it, I believe, at 50 people. So I think, as of talking with Anthony yesterday, they were probably about 2/3 there. I'm going to post the flyer in the comments, guys, if you're watching this on social and you want to get in and help out a great cause. But not only, and it's actually going to be, let me tell you the date, it's going to be October 11th. I believe that's a Monday, 6:30 to 10:30. And I just can't wait. One, it's a great cause, and two, it's going to be able to meet a lot of great new people. But with Wakefield Tavern, if you haven't been, you need to go. Say Terb sent you, and you talk about great beer. They have great beer locally, obviously, nationally, but you have a great variety. But I also have good friends just about 3 doors down at Dee's Bottle Shop. So if you want to go and try even more beer on tap, go check them out. Then you go over to Wakefield Tavern, or better yet, you can actually take Wakefield Tavern food to Dee's Bottle Shop. It's multi-dimensional there. But again, go check them out. It's people I really like, I really respect. And of course, another thing I do in the podcast is just trying to promote local business owners and what have you. So can't thank you guys enough again for joining me on the Super Terb podcast. It's hard to believe it's been 34 episodes. I'm having a blast. If you're a local business owner, entrepreneur, coach, anybody that wants to promote your business, reach out to me, message me. I'd love for you to tell your story. Same token, if you're thinking about it all, buying or selling in the market in the triangle, you're coming in from out of state and you just want to know where to start, please reach out to us. Again, it's Michael Turbot, your local real estate expert with the Out of Terb Group, Komen, HPW. Oh, lastly, if you do like the podcast, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. The more the merrier. I have Michael Martin here. Anything else you want to say?
No, I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun. What do I always say?
Who you work with matters.
See you next time.